Hi, my name is Robert West and I'm a fabricator here in Los Angeles, California. I'm going to show you some of the methods that I'm using for creating these emergency face shields for medical staff and other people that may need them, or emergency personnel. These methods and materials are not CDC or FDA approved, but the hospitals I'm working for have approved them for emergency use in this crisis. Please check with your local ER or medical service providers for approval before proceeding with your build. If you do make masks that are rejected by officials, please make sure that they get somewhere where someone can use them in food service or other essential services. So first, let's talk about materials. The most expensive part of this process is the clear shield here. This is called a clear chemical resistant PVC film. That's what I happen to be using. Another option is acetate, but what you do want, hopefully, is something that can be washed and sterilized over and over, so something that's not going to fall apart or cloud up in any cleaners, especially bleach. Hospitals are increasingly going to be using bleach all over these masks, so every part of them need to be able to be bleached to be reused. A single-use mask is not going to get them very far. The foam that's used along the forehead here needs to be a foam that's not going to soak. There's some types of foam, like upholstery foam, and this is it's a sponge basically. It's going to soak in all of that bleach. We cannot have a bunch of bleach sitting right above the eyes of these people that need to see what they're doing. Bleach going in their eyes would be a very bad thing. This is an elastic band. It's 1.5 inches. You can use 1 inch. You can even use the really skinny stuff, though that's probably not going to last nearly as long, and it might not stay as secure on their heads as they move around. I like using a nice solid 1.5, maybe 2 inches if you can get it. The smaller stuff, of course, is going to be cheaper. This is the template I'm using for cutting out the face shield part, the clear portion. That's going to be 12 inches wide by 13.5 inches tall. You can probably get away with 12 inches tall, but I'm going based off of the dimensions that were given to me from a PDF I found online, I think from a hospital on the East Coast. So I'm going to defer to these measurements for the masks that I build. They may seem like they're a bit on the long side. They do go down a bit far. They don't quite restrict any motion at all. My head can go all the way down with this mask on. And it's flexible, as you can tell, so it's not really going to hinder. They can still move if they have to, and it's very easy to cut. The hospital staff should all have scissors somewhere on hand, and they can trim it down if needed, if they have larger breasts or for whatever reason it's restricted in some way. It would be best, though, take into consideration every inch you provide here is going to keep more germs away from their faces, so I would err on the side of a little too large rather than a little too small. Once you get a hold of the clear material you're going to use for your shield, it's probably going to come on a large roll, 4 feet wide or so. That's the standard. And it's probably going to be very heavy. You might need a second person to help you unroll it. And the easiest way that I found for processing these, for chopping them all up, is to cut them into 13.5 inch strips that are the whole length of the 4 foot wide roll, right? So it's as if the roll was here and it was unrolling this way. I'm going to cut out 13.5 inch strips, if that's the size that you're using in terms of the length. The reason I want them going this way, 13.5 inches this way, is because that's the height of the mask that I'm going to cut out, and because they're 4 feet wide and it's 12 inches wide here, 1 foot each, that's going to give me exactly 4 in each of these. You want not to waste any of this material if possible. The more material we have, the more lives might be saved through making more masks. So, because you have a 13.5 inch wide strip, you would lay a template on it, something like this. You can use cardboard. This is MDF. Just try to use something that is durable, because as you run a razor all around it to cut it, it could wear down over time. But if you have to keep cutting out cardboard templates, you can do that. Another option that goes a little bit slower is just use paper or light cardboard and then trace them all out with Sharpie, but you want to move as fast as possible. What I found is fastest: get something sturdy, take the time to cut it out properly, sand it down smooth, lay it on, run your razor around it, and then move on to the next one. All right, so now I'm going to walk you through the process. I've already cut out these strips. Let's say I have a big pile of those all ready to go. I have my template ready to go, and I have an X-Acto blade like this. You can use a lot of different types of razors. I happen to like using these, and try to use a sharp blade if possible. It'll be a lot easier. have a whole stack of sharp blades ready to go. I like using a cutting mat because it has these nice lines to line things up. You can measure things on them, and of course it protects the surface underneath so you can keep going without having to replace something or destroy your table. So now that I have all these strips ready to go, I'm going to lay one down on the table on my cutting surface, take my template, lay it on, use my fingers to justify it to the top, slide it all the way over to where it's lined up on there, and in one smooth motion, make this cut down the side, down the bottom, and then I come to the other side to cut the other side. Now I have one mask cut out and ready to go. Throw that in the stack, move on to the next one. Keep all your motions very smooth and calm. Think about what you're doing. Don't move in a panic, but try to move efficiently. Keep everything around you where you need it. Keep all the tools close by, your water. Make sure you have nice lighting so you can see what you're doing. Turn on your favorite tunes. And just focus on what you're doing, and you'll crank out many more than you otherwise would. There's another one. And on the last one, you don't have to cut up the side there. You're just cutting the rounded part on the bottom. Right across there and up. It does not have to be perfect. It can be quick and dirty. The only thing we're looking for in making this round is that it's not going to catch on their clothes at all. It's not going to get caught on something. It's not going to be some sort of distraction. The next part of the process I'm going to talk about is this foam headband. That is going to probably be pretty difficult for some people to find out there. Like I said, you want to get something that doesn't soak up any moisture. And so what I ended up using was a cheap camping mat that I happen to have. It's like a sleeping pad that you would lay down when you're camping. And if you can find something that's already got adhesive on it, like a double stick tape sort of thing, a peel and stick backing, that would be ideal and save you a big step. What I did was cut out all these strips by hand from this large camping mat, and then took these 1-inch strips of double stick tape, industrial double stick tape. The stronger, the better. You can also use carpet tape. If you can find that in 1-inch, that would be great. Another option is using spray 77 or spray 90. Those are spray adhesives. You can spray it to the whole sheet and then cut it. You can spray them individually, though that can get kind of messy. Try to make sure that you're not getting adhesive anywhere that's not the surfaces that are sticking. The third major part of this build that we're going to have to prep is cutting the elastic strap. You'll usually find that it comes in a roll, depending on how you're getting a hold of it. Maybe you just have a big bag of it, but it's going to move quicker if you have it on a roll, because what I have set up here is I've set up a roll that is on a screwdriver that's going through a hole in that table, however you can, to where it's going to feed to you quick and easy. You're going to go through many, many, many feet of this, and so you want this step to go very smoothly for each cut. So what I have here is a piece of 2x4 that's at about the right length that I need. It's about 12 and a half inches or so, and I'm going to set that there. I will drag it across to where I need it, use this little lip to slip the scissors underneath, snip and drop it. Move it across, snip and drop it. You want to be like a machine here. You want to just crank them out without getting too sloppy. This way you should be able to do hundreds in a very short period of time. Be sure to watch out for your posture. You don't want to wear yourself out or get a really sore neck 1 or 2 days into the process. And that's the strap. The next step here is attaching the foam. You're actually going to start the assembly now. Attaching the foam to the shield. When you have your shield in your stack, what I like to do is make little tape markers of where the shield's actually going to lay, which is right there and there. I just know that I lay it right in between those markers along this line that's on the pad. And you can make this very apparent however you want. You can put out a lot of tape markers. Masking tape or blue tape works really well. And then I put other little markers on the inside that be sure to line up this 9-inch strip. This is 9 inches, by the way, in length and 1 inch wide. The thickness is a 1/2 inch. A lot of recommendations are for a 1 inch bit of foam, but this one's I think a little bit under a 1/2 inch, and it's been approved and seems to be working fine. All right, so when you pull in your face shield, put it down on your markers right there so it's centered. Here's my markers for where the foam is going to go. It's 1 inch up from the top, maybe 1 1/4 inches, as long as it's right around there. You don't want it right on the edge. You need a little bit of the mask poking up above the forehead because we're still trying to protect the top of their head as well. So this foam strip should sit about 1 inch to 1 1/4 inches from the edge, like that. You have it all lined up and it should go quick and easy. One of the trickiest parts of this whole thing is actually just getting the tape backing off because this tape is so damn sticky. Pull that off, align it there and there, keep it somewhat straight, press it firmly. You're ready to move on to the next step. The next step is attaching the strap. Now, what I like to do for the strap is to fold it over once and fold it over twice, lay it on the temple, slightly below where the headband is, or right around where it is, definitely not above. We're trying to keep the band right around here, like just below eyebrow level. And attaching it can be as simple as using a typical office stapler. I happen to not have an office stapler at the moment, so what I'm using is one of these devices that they use for attaching tags. It basically is like sewing a little stitch, but instead of thread, it's this little bit of plastic. So, is it possible to get in there to see this little bit there? These little plastic stitches are holding it in place. And really, you can use just about anything as long as it holds up to the abuse that it's going to be getting. Just imagine someone accidentally snags on something, it pulls on something. You want to be sure that it's going to hold under a good amount of stress. And I like the idea of using these plastic fasteners because they are less likely to rust. Some cheaper staplers might rust, especially with the bleach solution that they're putting them in. Not a huge concern. Definitely use whatever you can in terms of the fasteners. Safety pins could also work really well, and safety pins will also mean that it's more adjustable. What I'm going to be doing, releasing these, is with a safety pin on all of them. I'm going to put a little safety pin through a little loop there, just so it's very apparent that they can make this smaller if they need to, if it needs to go on a much smaller head. So the last and one of the most important steps of this whole process is sterilization. You need to clean these before handing them off to all these medical workers. We have to keep them safe, and we have no idea of knowing if you have been infected with the virus or not. And so the methods that have been described to me by infectious disease experts at the hospitals are as such. Use a diluted bleach solution or a household disinfectant with a label that says EPA approved. To make a bleach solution at home, add 1 tablespoon of bleach to 1 quart, 4 cups of water. That's 1 tablespoon for each 4 cups of water. For a larger supply, add 1/4 cup of bleach to 1 gallon, which is 16 cups of water. And you can dunk the whole mask, or you can wipe it down and fully saturate it and let it air dry. What I'm doing for that process is I've got baling wire here. It's this bendable, handy little wire. I'm cutting off 2-inch strips and making these little hooks. And you could do the same thing with coat hangers, or if you happen to have little S-hooks, that'd be great. I'm going to set up a clothesline in my front yard and dunk all the masks in a 5-gallon bucket of that bleach solution, and then hang them up to dry, and then fully take a shower, suit up with gloves and mask, and probably wear one of these masks myself, and just make sure I'm as absolutely clean as possible while I take those freshly sterilized masks down after they've been dried and then dropped into clean plastic bags. Very large Ziploc bags would of course be ideal, but little cheap waste basket liners, trash bags, anything like that, just as clean as possible, please, for transporting them. I'm going to put all of those individual bags into one large garbage bag or several, and have those taken by someone who is not symptomatic to the hospital or to whatever medical worker that may need them. Thank you for your help in this effort. If you have any questions for me, you can reach me at emergencyfaceshields@gmail.com. And to donate, please go to onesmallhouse.org/COVID-PPE. That's COVID-PPE. Thank you, and stay safe.